Hello everyone, welcome to the Vishwashanti Darshan channel. The programming of the channel focuses on science, spirituality and peace. The channel is the brainchild of the Apostle of World Peace, Vishwadharmi Professor Dr Deepak Ranade. I had been presenting to you the program Gyan Vigyan Dhara, wherein I shared my thoughts related to science and spirituality. Going a step further, we are lucky to have Dr Deepak Ranade. He's a consulting neurosurgeon. He has been contributing to the regular columns of the Times of India, The Speaking Tree. During my chat with him at the studios in VISHWARAJ BAUGH Loni, where he had come to see the world's largest peace dome, I posed 10 conversation points to him on his understanding of the domain of consciousness, which he says he is still understanding. So let's begin the tete-a-tete.
Hi, welcome to Vishwashanti Darshan channel. Today I have invited a very special guest, Dr Deepak Ranade. He's a neurosurgeon. He has come all the way to VISHWARAJ BAUGH to meet us. Dr Deepak Ranade has a great interest in reading about consciousness. Welcome Dr Ranade. I will be putting forth before you 10 such points of conversation. So are we ready, Dr Ranade?
Yeah, we are ready. We are ready to go.
The importance of distancing oneself. This is the byline, I would say. Now, it is seen in life that when you are watching a painting, when you are seeing a life-size painting especially, from a distance it looks good, very perfect. But as you go closer, you find a lot of imperfect things in it. And much proximity or much closer part of it, then say that, well, this is not the same painting which I was looking from afar. Now, why this happens actually? This is what I want to know.
This is a very interesting question because nowadays we see a lot of complications in relationships and in our day-to-day living. And one of the reasons that I had realized was if you get too upfront or too close to either a person or it could be solving a problem, there is an optimum distance that has to be maintained between even a person or even when you're solving a problem. Very often I had noticed that when I have to solve a problem, if I'm upfront and with my nose sticking to the problem, it cuts off my vision of finding solutions which might be laterally placed. So I had I developed on this thought, and as you had mentioned about the painting, one very interesting, in economics they talk of a law of diminishing utility. So I had used this same term and I called it a law of diminishing beauty. So as you come closer and closer beyond that threshold distance that has to be maintained, the beauty of that object starts diminishing. So it is very, very important that we maintain an optimum distance, and perhaps it could be best illustrated by in the culture that we have been brought up in. They talk of virakti or they talk of detachment. Now this detachment also implies a certain amount of distance that has to be maintained, so as to not get too overcome or to get too involved in any particular person or any object of indulgence, or it could be anything. So you maintain an optimum distance between whom I would call as a subject, and an object. That object could be a person, place, thing, habit, pleasure, anything. But if that critical distance is maintained, it ensures that it does justice to the object by the cognizing ability of the subject, as well as it keeps a certain amount of detachment, which is very, very critical for being able to appreciate something. It talks more about, particularly in today's days and world, when we talk of relationships which form a very important integral part of our lives. So that in any relationship, I think, I remember this one beautiful quote by Bhagwan Rajneesh, where he mentions that let our togetherness be blessed with distance. So that distance is something that perhaps is violated, and which is one of the major problems in the fast deteriorating relationships.
So rather saying that absence make the heart grow fonder, you should say now distance make the heart grow fonder.
Absolutely.
Something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah? That distance is very, very critical.
So I mean, it's like respecting the space also in
absolutely.
some way.
Each one has his own private space, and I think it's if you respect the person, you would respect his space also.
I would like to know something more about the metaphysics of love. I mean, they say that love is a bond that binds a virtue, that connects, giving a sense of purpose. Paradoxically, it also brings a lot of grief, a lot of pain if the relationship is not, is not up to the mark or is not held properly. So I request you to throw some light on the metaphysics of love.
Very important point that you've raised, sir. And like I being a doctor, I know the biology of love.
Okay.
So the biology of love is largely restricted to perhaps ensuring that the species survives. That is the reproductive aspect of man-woman love, as which in the common context that we talk of. But when you talk of metaphysics of love, love is this biological love is just a subset of the love that we talk of as the all-encompassing love, or something which is a much larger than being restricted to only biology. So what could be the metaphysics of love? Because it's a very intangible kind of a phenomenon. When I say that I love someone, what is the import of that word when I say that I love someone? Is it that I am attracted to that person, or I am attracted to some object? Is it that I want to possess that object? Is it that I have a great, that presence of that object elates me, it brings out the best in me, it inspires me. So there are so many different shades of love as one were to talk of. So when we talk of metaphysics of love, it is looking at these intangibles of love, which transcend this very cliched and a very, very narrow definition of love, which largely talks of possessing something. So as you had asked the question about, it also brings pain.
Yeah.
So the grief of that which comes out of this emotion of love largely stems out from the fact of wanting to possess something.
Okay.
And if you realize that even when it talks of deteriorating relationships, if you really love someone, like they say that it's a very oft quoted thing, that if you love something, set it free. If it is yours, it will remain or it will come back to you. If it is not, it never was. So if you are trying to make something, or trying to possess something, or trying to own something, or fit it into a particular frame of reference that you feel that which are based on expectations, that expectations is what causes the grief. Because when I am expecting something, and I remember there was this one very beautiful incident narrated to me by one of my friends. He said he was wailing loudly after a breakup with his fiancée, and with a person whom he was dating for a long time. And so this friend of mine asked him that, why you shouting, why you crying? He said, I'm in Hindi they say mera prem bhang ho gaya hai. So he said for a moment, he said, वाकई आपका प्रेम भंग हुआ है, प्रेम कभी भंगता नहीं है, आपकी अपेक्षा भंग हो गई है. So if you understand, yeah, so it's your expectations. I've gone for a toss. So what is actually causing the pain is not love. It is the expectations that arise along with the love that causes the pain. So if you can expand your understanding of love, like I love music. Now, what is my expectation? In fact, when I operate, I listen to music because it elevates me, it inspires me, it brings out the best in me. So the expectation is not in a tangible domain that I want this person to do these things for me. But if it is something that makes me grow as an individual, it makes me evolve, anything that which is conducive to my growth, and that positive element is what I would like to call as love. If you restrict it to the domain of possessing something, or controlling something, or dominating something, and making it do something that you want, and that expectation is what kills this beautiful, universally, wonderfully prevalent principle of love.
And you will agree that most of the relationships are gone, I mean,
they get skewed because of expectations. And you see, the whole idea is that another very sad part of this love is in quite a few relationships, particularly in relationships, there comes to be some kind of a dependence, either emotional, financial, social. And if you look at the physics, like we were talking about metaphysics of love, but there's a physics of love also. And what is the physics of love? The physics of love is that if two individuals are leaning on one another, they will converge to a point. A point can never sustain that edifice of a relationship. But if these two individuals keep standing erect, they can then together hold that structure which is love, which binds them together. So the physics of love means that you do not incline towards anyone. You maintain your integrity, your own self-respect, your dignity, and then if the feelings that remain and which are absolutely just sharing some wonderful moments together or not depending on anyone is what the metaphysics of love is.
Here also you intend to say respect the space.
Yes, it is important, absolutely important. Yeah.
Thanks, Doctor. So I would like to give a halt to this episode here, and we'll take it up next week also. More conversation points to be discussed with Dr. Deepak Ranade, and those points are very interesting. Keep watching Vishwashanti Darshan.